Myth busting. Is MSG in your food safe to consume? You've seen the ads, the hoardings, billboards, packaging, all selling with a big no MSG sign. As we reach for that instant noodle on the supermarket rack, we are conditioned to look at the fine print for the no MSG label. In the 70s and 80s, the anti-MSG noise had reached such decibel levels that it hit the business of restaurants selling Asian cuisine, especially in Western countries. In 2015, the anti-MSG noise hit the makers of India's beloved instant noodle brand the most, costing them about $500 million. So what is this MSG? And why does it have such a bad rep in the food industry? Is it really harmful to your health? Let's break down fact versus fiction around monosodium glutamate. What is MSG? Let's delve into the science of how we arrive at MSG. The birth of MSG can be traced back to early 1900s in Japan, when a chemistry professor at the University of Tokyo was determined to find a flavor other than the four basic tastes of sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. He called this new taste umami, meaning savory or meat-like. Now, how does one get this umami flavor? Glutamic acid is a naturally existing amino acid that is found in various foods. These amino acids are essential building blocks that create proteins. There are 20 different types of them, and the way they interact and react helps determine what protein is made. In order to get this umami or meat-like flavor in your mouth, you need to first separate glutamic acid from the protein. Monosodium glutamate is simply the salt formed from this freed glutamic acid. Once this molecule hits our taste buds, it lights up certain receptors in the brain and translates to the umami sensation. What we perhaps don't know is this. Glutamate is found in a range of foods including tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, mushrooms, soy sauce, a number of fruits, veggies, and even human breast milk. The good professor in Japan extracted glutamate from a seaweed called kombu. That's a mainstay of Japanese cuisine. Adding sodium stabilizes glutamate into a powder or crystal form, and that is added to food for that umami flavor. The professor went on to create his famous MSG-based condiment Ajinomoto that your local Chinese stallwala adds generously to everything he cooks. So what's the controversy? None, for many decades. Ajinomoto and the MSG introduced a new flavor that the world lapped up, adding to the popularity of Asian cuisine in the West. But then in 1968, someone wrote a letter to the New England Journal of Medicine, claiming he suffered from various symptoms including nausea, headache, numbness at the back of his neck and arms, heart palpitations, and other such symptoms after eating at a Chinese restaurant. Various other people complained about a similar sensation, leading to what became known as the Chinese restaurant syndrome. Could it be that the MSG was the culprit? What followed was a number of studies that supported both sides of the debate. According to BBC Future, a Washington University researcher found that injecting monosodium glutamate in mice led to development of dead tissue patches in the brain. And these mice grew up to be stunted, obese, and sterile. Here's the problem. Most other studies that followed showed otherwise. Another little fact. Turns out mice are particularly sensitive to high doses of MSG. The US Food and Drug Administration carried out a mega study of all the previously done studies in 1995. They found that there was a subgroup of humans who do react to large doses of MSG. The moot point here is large doses. FDA classifies MSG as GRAS, or generally recognized as safe. As a rule, FDA requires that all additives in packaged foods be labeled separately. So if MSG is added as a flavor enhancer in food, it needs to be clearly labeled. There's more. The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations and the World Health Organization place MSG in the safest category. Here's some interesting information. The human body doesn't distinguish between MSG from natural proteins and added MSG. Once it's in the body, both are processed the same way. What's up with India, MSG and Maggi, you ask? Before MSG, messenger of God Ram Rahim, unleashed himself and his films on Indians, MSG of another kind had created quite a storm. Protests against Mono Sodium Glutamate had already brought one of the biggest food and beverage companies in the world on its knees. In March 2014, a food and drug safety official in Barabanki, Uttar Pradesh, decided to send few packets of Maggi for testing at a local lab to test its no MSG claim. His daughter loved the noodles and he wanted to test the product. The findings kick-started a storm. Not only did the tests come back MSG positive, but the packets also contained high levels of lead. This eventually led to a temporary ban on the product and the biggest recall of a food product in history. All this while, the company continued to claim they didn't add MSG as a flavor enhancer in their products. The MSG that popped up in test results could be naturally existing kind found in the raw material used to make the noodle. They refuted the lead levels found in the tests. The ban lasted a few months. Damage was done. A new Indian version of the instant noodle with no MSG sign had flooded the market. Indian Food Safety Regulator, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India or FSSAI has this to say in its rules. The food safety commissioners cannot take action against manufacturers of noodles or pasta based on the presence of MSG glutamic acid unless there is a confirmation that MSG flavor enhancer was deliberately added during manufacturing process and not declared on the label. So where are we now? So now we know MSG is a naturally occurring amino acid found in many food products including your cheese, your tomato, mushroom, soy sauce, etc. We know most of the Asian population regularly eats these foods, besides adding MSG as a flavor enhancer. And this does not lead to symptoms that have been described as the Chinese restaurant syndrome. Most reports of this syndrome are anecdotal. According to Mayo Clinic, researchers say that a small number of people do suffer from some reaction, but that is mild and is treatable. FIT spoke to Delnas T. Chanduwadia, Chief Dietitian with Jaslok Hospital and Research Center in Mumbai. She says consuming MSG is safe in small amounts. There are people who may be sensitive to MSG that may trigger their nervous systems leading to various symptoms. Or for people who suffer from asthma, the frequency of attacks may increase. The only way to prevent this is to eliminate MSG from your diet. So there you go, we've demystified MSG for you. If you have any other questions or you want us to deep dive into another science hoax, do write to us at fit@thequint.com.